Well, here I am, another thrilling instalment from my conservatory. And for those of you who've been tuning in to my near daily vlogs now, I'm sure you're aware that in a couple of days I will be winging my way over to Australia to visit my family, my country of birth, although I live here in Ireland, in the beautiful county of Mayo, and have done for 9.5 years now. I suffer from lipedema, right? Which is not a fun condition. So lipedema, as I've explained before, is a connective tissue disorder. Basically, our cells are a bit leaky and our body manufactures excess tissue that forms deposits that sometimes they make hard lipomas. People with Derkums, which is sort of like lipedema, they can get like big, large, hard lumps of lipoma fat under their skin, which presses on nerves and becomes very bothersome. Other people just start to get very heavy from the waist down, and they, no matter what you do, diet or exercise, it doesn't seem to go away. And sometimes if you're doubly unfortunate, as am I, you can get it in your trunk and your arms, as well as your hips, thighs and buttocks, all the way down to your feet. So I have the lot. It is genetic. It's an inherited gene that is triggered by trauma, hormones, hormonal events in a woman's life, and trauma affects hormones. And once you get it, to manage it, is compression, lymphatic drainage, and trying to be sugar-free. Eat healthily, less dairy, no wheat, that sort of thing. I've basically gone back to my paleo diet from like 2009, I think I was on the paleo diet, which is like the only dairy I have now is basically mozzarella, feta, cream and butter. It's all grass-fed because I live in Ireland and there's no other kind. Fortunately, the island has a clean, green farming industry. Fortunately, no nasty GMOs, no Monsanto, all that sort of stuff. So if we just stuck to the veggies and the meat that we grew, we'd be a lot healthier than if we put it into packets with lots of salt and sugar and preservatives and then deep fried it. However, having said all that, I am going to, because I've been trying to limit my sugar and I've been trying to eat reasonably healthily. I don't eat takeaways very often anymore. If I do, I usually get a veggie burger or something. Might occasionally splash out in the odd taco fries, but I'm pretty much vegetarian now, so I feel a bit guilty about eating meat. Particularly since the field opposite my cottage is full of like lovely young steers who just trot up to the fence like big overgrown, pet dogs, and I just can't bear the thought of eating them. I'm at heart a vegetarian. I'm basically, if we want to get all technical about it, I'm a ovo, pesco, lacto vegetarian. So I eat fish, eggs, and dairy, and veggies, and not much else really. Anyway, because I've been trying to manage my lipedema with diet, and I've become more active lately and stuff, gone back to horse riding and that sort of thing. I do stretching when no one's around to watch. I thought I will just, for the sake of science, I'll see if I'm making any difference. So I'm going to start. I take some measurements for an extras acting agency that I'm in, but I'm going to measure myself here live. This is also, of course, it shouldn't be an act of bravery. It shouldn't be an act of feminism. It shouldn't be performance art. But it bloody well is, because there are still men out there who perpetuate the male gaze on, like, barely out of their teens girls who are like size 8, and well, that's just perpetuating the culture of Andrew Tate, shall we say. Like, I've spent my entire life being told there's basically not room for me, and dirty old men who like perv on young thin girls when they know better are only making things worse for people like me. All right, so here we go. Let's start with the old chestal area, shall we? My mammary glands. Now, obviously, this is a hilarious stripper bikini from Fashion Nova, and it is not providing much support. So I don't know how seriously I can take this measurement, because it's, you know, if it was hoisted up high by a different sort of bra with better foundation, shall we say, I probably would get a more accurate reading. But just for the sake of today, 42. There you go. 42. The answer to life, the universe, and everything, as prescribed by Douglas Adams, can be found in my bazooms. All right, let's do the waist, shall we? This is my Lipedema tummy, okay? So if you look, I have quite good stomach muscles and amazing pelvic floor muscles, but it's all under lipedemic fat, which I can't do much about other than getting liposuction, which I hope one day to be able to afford. I may have to sell my house to do so. And people would say, why would you sell your house for this? I'm like, because you tried living in here. Not the house, you try living in this body. And tell me it's not worth it. Okay. 36. When I got married as a teen bride when I was 18, my waist was 23 and my bust was 36. Now it is my waist. Okay, so there's only 7 inches between my knockers and my hip and my waist. All right. Hips. Now my hips have changed. Well, the widest part of me has changed over the years, which happens to everyone. But you see, I had liposuction in 2016, 2017, which took 36 litres away from below my waist, my hips, thighs, buttocks, feet, legs, ankles, all that sort of thing. This is sort of like the widest part of me, is it? See, no, this isn't hips. I know it's the bottom of my thighs, but you're meant to do it from the widest bit. So that's 46. I think when I was young, you know, everyone aspired to the perfect figure, as though like a woman or a person, as though their worth could be measured by metrics in the physical plane instead of their heart and their mind and their soul. Just pure superficiality. The perfect figure, I think, was supposed to be like 36, 23, 34, or 34, 23, 36 or something. I think that was supposed to be the perfect figure in the 60s, 50s and 60s, in the days of cover girls. I was that once, and I am not anymore. All right, let's do it around my tummy, shall we? See if we lose any inches around the actual tummy. Because you see, as I say, lipedema I cannot lose the bulk through diet or exercise. It can only be operated on. However, the swelling from extra fluid and the inflammation that makes it flare up can be reduced. So you can sort of like lose inches, if not bulk, by eating clean and squishing it all into compressions. Okay, so that's 47. I believe it was well over, it was between 50 and 60 at some point. My heaviest, my lipedema was at the lowest. Now, my legs. Look at my legs. Look at it. I have spent decades being very unhappy with my legs, of course, surrounded by, first of all, magazines, films, television, ads, billboards, that sort of thing, of teenage skinny children being held up as like the epitome of womanhood. I mean, Kate Moss was like still in her teens and a size 0 when she was in Calvin Klein's topless. And, you know, I think I'm the same age as Kate Moss. I will never be Kate Moss, obviously. I'm sure Kate Moss is lovely. Whether she was worth 200 grand before she even got out of bed to attend a catwalk parade, I don't know. Because the fashion industry is just, you know, fashion and design as a historic documentation of resources throughout the world and actual fun, beautiful art and design, that is a whole different territory from people being brainwashed into thinking that they have to look like Kate Moss and wanting to unalive themselves if they don't. Okay, I no longer want to unalive myself because I look like this, but sometimes it doesn't take much to tip women like me who suffer from lipedema over the edge again into like complete self-loathing and being told and affirming their self-belief that they don't deserve to live in the world because I don't look like the girls on Facebook in bikinis. Instead, I look like me in a bikini with my loose skin and my big thighs and the lipedema, which is an inherited condition that I can do pretty much nothing about except try and keep my sense of humour while everyone around me leaves. So, this is my thigh, and we'll see. I've been living in the conservatory for like several weeks now, so I'm a little browner than my usual pale ghosty self, but it's mainly freckles now. Okay. 23 inches around my leg. There you go. So my thigh now is the same size as my waist when I was an 18-year-old child bride. And it was when I was 17 or 18 that my lipedema symptoms first started to like really appear. It started to appear when I was 15, but by the time I was 17, 18, my mum was having to sort of like custom make like little Spanx pants for me when I went into the theatre, and the leg holes were the same size as the waist because my thighs had suddenly got big, but the rest of me was tiny. Like I had tiny little waist. In point of fact, when I was 17, my mum made me a dress for a pantomime that I was in. I was playing Alice in Dick Whittington, and it was a beautiful little dress out of pink gingham, and it was a little shirtwaist thing, and it was fitted for me, and then it went into the Donnybrook theatre troupe wardrobe, and sometimes they'd hire them out for parties or that sort of thing. In the end, they gave it back to my mum, and they said no one else can fit into it. The waist is too small. Even like the skinniest person that they knew, even though they were smaller dress size than me, they couldn't get into my dress. Even though they were smaller, even though they were smaller dress size, I had a smaller waist. But in the 80s, when you meant to look like Kylie Minogue, I no longer am jealous of Kylie Minogue. In point of fact, I am wearing her designer glasses, which if you told me in 1986 that I would ever buy anything associated with Kylie Minogue, I would have laughed. But Kylie's fabulous. All is forgiven. She can't help as beautiful as she is, and nor can I. Okay, so it's my thigh. Let's do the right thigh because they do differ, because they have different things going on with them. when I first had my liposuction, it was, my left leg was the worst. And then now my right ankle is actually the most swollen because, oh, there you go. 27 for that one. 27, a whole inch of difference. Maybe it was higher up. All right, now, apart from that, I will leave you. Oh, my arms. I don't know how I'm going to do my arms because I need to. It's difficult to do it by myself, of course, but doing things by myself is what I must get used to. I feel like Christopher Moltisanti. Like getting ready to bang up with the old tourniquet. Don't you? Is it just me? I know it's not just me, but when you're watching an American show and they say, "Oh, we need to make a tourniquet," I'm like, please don't. Do not make a tourniquet if it means any of you are going to live and pronounce it like that ever again. 16 inches. 16 inches for that one. There are my fedubitas. My lipedema left arm, 16 inches. As well as tourniquet. Just the sound of it. They also, and this is a beauty, they also say buoy when they mean boy, as in a flotation device. B-U-O-Y. It's a homonym with boy, boy. I have a little boy. My son is a little boy. Or, look, throw him a flotation device. Grab the nearest boy. B-U-O-Y. Americans can't handle it. Buoy. Is that that boat out by the buoy? I'm like, please stop. Where are we? No, that can't be right. 16? 16. There you go. That'll do for now, I would imagine. And I'll continue with eating clean. This morning I've consumed a tin apple in natural juice with just a couple of teaspoons of cream with it, because it's sort of like keto. You know what I mean, cream is good stuff. Pineapples are good stuff. Lots of vitamin C and fibre and liquid to keep me hydrated. And natural sugars instead of sugar. All right, I will keep you all posted. I will just keep it. I'm going to continue to eat clean. I'm going to take measurements while I'm away to see the difference between before flight and after flight, because long haul flight I always like swell up and I'm worried about DVTs. And then while I'm in Australia, hopefully I will get around and see lots of sights. So as well as like showing you all the sights from Australia, I'll show you how my body is racking up against the stress of long haul travel in a lipedema body. All right. And for those of you in Ireland, I am appearing in my comedic capacity tomorrow night in Sligo at the Stand Up for Pride comedy night at Lily's Bar, 8 o'clock. See you when you've got nothing on.